Hello, I'm Russell Brand. Welcome to the Trews. Trews is true news, news you can trust. Subscribe here and then the Trews will always be with you. You'll never be alone. Today on the Trews we are talking about FEMA, who are an organisation that lent money to people whose lives have been devastated by hurricanes Sandy or Katrina, but now they want that money back.
The residents of Bell Harbor Manor spent 5 months in 3 different emergency shelters.
Luxury.
Once Superstorm Sandy flooded their home for disabled and elderly residents on Rockaway Beach Boulevard. But now the Federal Emergency Management Agency has asked at least a dozen of these residents to pay back thousands of dollars in disaster relief aid.
Oh, can we have that money back? But the hurricane disabled. Money back.
I asked them, do we have to pay this back? And they said, no, it's a gift from the president.
You know that gift I gave you? Yes, we all appreciated it. That makes it a bit harder to say what I'm about to say. Oh, what is it? Give it back.
It's because you were displaced. It's displacement money.
And what did you spend the money on?
Food.
Yeah, you can't just waste money on food. Times are tight.
61-year-old Robert Rosenberg showed me his letter from FEMA, which said the $2,400 check he received was supposed to be spent only on temporary housing. Because these residents were all housed in state-funded shelters, Rosenberg said they spent the FEMA dollars on other necessities.
It's not like we took, Bahama vacations with it.
One glance at Rosenberg, you can see he's one of the kind of fat cat hypocrites that's been using the system for his gain.
Everybody used it wisely.
It's bloody Rosenberg's brought down the economy.
My money was spent on clothes.
And then there's this bitch buying clothes, look at her.
On other things, toiletries.
And evidently expensive hair products.
All kinds of basic things that you need.
How long did you spend in Vidal Sassoon's living it up, love?
A FEMA spokesman said FEMA remains committed to working with applicants and ensuring they have an understanding of the options available to resolve their debt.
FEMA wants its money back, has asked disabled people and the most poor residents to pay back thousands of dollars in disaster aid. The agency is hoping to recoup 5.8 million in aid. 5.8 million is only to a Rosenberg, that little old lady. I don't have 5.8 million. Well, why don't you get a job doing voiceovers as Elmer Fudd and give us our fucking money? This is one of my favourite bits. A spokesman added that the agency strives to explain the recoupment process to disaster survivors. Striving to explain it. Come on, we've got to make them understand. Now look, we know you thought we'd give you that money. Well, we hadn't. We just loaned it you. Give it back. I still don't understand. Well, I've done all I can do.
But these Bell Harbor Manor residents say there is no way they can ever repay any of the money because they live on fixed incomes.
Oh, there's Rosenberg again. Whether it's buying expensive and unnecessary new crutches or built-up shoes to help him with his evident disability, Rosenberg's having the time of his life.
I just, pray that the government would understand that it's not our fault. We didn't want to steal anything or take anything. If they would have told us it was a loan, we would have never signed up for it.
Hey guys, sorry about the hurricane. Here's the money that we're loaning you. Please spend it wisely on only certain things.
But they're the ones that told us, do it. Now they want it back.
Rosenberg, you'll stop at nothing. You vicious, manipulative little bastard.
Shouldn't be that way.
FEMA are an American government agency and their keenness to reclaim these loans indicates a lack of capital in government agencies, doesn't it? Well, is there money anywhere else that the government could be getting back? I mean, yes, the first fault is always going to be Rosenberg. He's obviously got most of it. That glad-ragging, snooty, stuck-up little toff. But once he's given back his bit, it might be worth looking at the 340 companies who leaked documents reveal are engaged in tax schemes in Luxembourg. Companies including Pepsi, IKEA, FedEx, Heinz, JP Morgan, Procter & Gamble. Have they got any money that can, as well as Rosenberg, as well, of course, not let him off the hook, but I'm fuming. But, if they got in his words, have a look at some Trews on that.
So, Brian and Mandy, we were actually the only U.S. media outlet to get access to over 500 tax rulings from 300 companies, 219 of which are U.S. companies.
It's interesting that one of the companies that are exploiting these tax loopholes are Exxon, and Exxon probably contributed to there being Hurricane Sandy and Katrina. Hey, correct. There is no evidence that drilling oil out of the Earth's core, then setting fire to that oil, creates the temperature rises that lead to hurricanes. No evidence, and even when I said it just then, it didn't sound like a logical and coherent argument.
That show exactly how these companies set up structures in Luxembourg to significantly reduce the tax bill. So here's how it works.
You might think that what this indicates is Luxembourg is the problem, but many of the companies that are using these tax havens, like Exxon, like Amazon, like AIG, are also companies that make the huge donations. Remember the $4 billion spent on donations in the midterm elections? It's the same companies. So those companies are influencing political procedures in America, in Britain, in Luxembourg, to prevent us ordinary people, Rosenberg, having any impact. And when they want money, what do? Persecute immigrants, persecute the poor, persecute Rosenberg. When there's a great strand, a great strata of wealth spreading like a band around the world, a band of corruption that is never ever addressed and never taken care of.
Big accounting firms, in our case, the documents we have is PricewaterhouseCoopers, goes first to the tax ministers in Luxembourg and says, here's the kind of structure that we want to set up. So they have a conversation about it.
All right, so it's not like Luxembourg are doing it anyway. The companies go to Luxembourg and go, it'd enough be good if you set up this structure. JP Morgan, Amazon, AIG, Deutsche Bank, Procter & Gamble, and News Corp, they're involved in it. They're News Corp who make the Sun newspaper, the Times, those friends of ordinary people, they have been doing it as well. You might be aware that in Ireland, ordinary people are having water meters forced into their houses. You'll have a water meter because the government couldn't provide them with water and employed a private firm to install water meters. Now a third of Ireland's population have burnt their water bills. Thanks Dave from Rubberbandits for that piece of information. So all over the world you're seeing ordinary people and poor people forced to suffer while massive corporations are aided and abetted in new, novel ways to hide their money.
Then the tax ministers sign off, which is what is called a tax ruling or a comfort letter, and then they go and set up the structures. So it would be the same thing as a foreign firm going to the IRS first and saying, here's what we want to do. How do we reduce our tax burden?
When I talk about revolution, what I mean is the systems that are in place at the moment are not set up to help us. We need systems to be set up outside of those systems. These systems here are not worth voting for. We need to set up systems, creative direct action, like the New Era homes, like the people protesting in Ireland about their water rates. What we need to do is on a local level, directly campaign in a creative ways together and then find unions and relationships and work out what we want together. This will do a couple of things. One, we'll start to learn together, and two, it'll put pressure on the political parties that currently only represent big businesses because they'll think, oh my god, the population are becoming engaged, that we now are going to have to start representing them. So, is it Rosenberg that's to blame for the collapse of economy? Or is it big financial institutions, big corporations, quantitative easing, the revolving doors between Washington and Wall Street, the City of London and big companies like News Corp who are avoiding paying their taxes? I think it's Rosenberg. That is the Trews. Subscribe here to Trews. We've got to stop Rosenberg. Look at him, he's evil. True news, true news.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the news. If the news was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.